call this, we
You got a minute and a half.
You ready?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you'll please join me as we pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Need a motion for the approval of the minutes of the April 20 regular board meeting and April 29th special board meeting.
I'll
So
make a
moved.
motion.
Do I move or do I second? Did I hear Ed move?
I'll do a second if you want to do it.
Ed second then, and I have Ms. Meyer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need approval of May bills totaling $819,564.89.
Is this included the updates?
So this includes both emails of budgetary items that you received?
I'll move it to open it up for discussion.
So moved once.
Second it. See what we got.
Discussion?
Not for me, but
Oh,
just
okay.
making sure.
I didn't know if you had any, so by the way you motioned, so. Ellen, do you have anything on the bills that you needed clarified before we moved on?
No, I think I made sense of all of it.
Ms.
double
Varner,
checking
hello
my
by
notes.
Zoom as well, I'm sorry.
I know there's a lot of money involved.
All right, going for question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Looking down now to item number 5, approval of the monthly finance reports, which you received in your packets as well.
Dr. Mayor, the large difference, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Can I just, the large difference in the decrease in spending from 1920 to 2021 on the expenses paid, is that due to just,
Well, a lot of it's because we were out of school. So
well, we're better now we're 600,000 less in 2021 than we were in 2019 and 2020?
Right, but
That's
we had-
because of the spring?
Yes,
Okay.
and also the fall, we had quite
Okay.
a disruption there.
Okay,
So, yeah, it did make a big difference.
huge difference.
Yeah, but we have fewer expenses in personnel also.
Okay, good. And then I see that our DESI payment is up 300,000 too, so that's a $900,000 shift.
Yes, our DESI is, there's been much more revenue come in than any of us expected.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, all of our revenue streams actually seem to be up
Yes.
Yeah,
when we anticipated them being 10 to 15 or more percent lower. So,
yeah.
motion to approve the finance reports.
So move.
Second.
Ed seconded that, I believe, very quietly over there.
I can't hear anything from that end. I'll vote aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. In your minutes, I believe in your packets, there's also a memorandum of agreement with Missouri Valley Community Action Agency for the Nest Bus. Anyone have any questions or discussion about that MOU?
Yeah, so can we have some of the context behind this? I didn't remember this was coming up.
No, I read through it and I didn't know anything about it previously. I just
Yeah.
thought it wasn't a horrible idea.
I always thought it was routine, but that's the first time I've seen it either.
Yeah, so I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, but I'm just wondering where it came from. Like, what's the impetus behind it? What's the history behind this MOU? MOA in this case.
Is Grace here?
Great, hit the wrong button.
It's,
Yes, I was going to say, it seems that there is yes, it seems there's a $15,000 grant that's coming from Missouri Valley Community Action Agency in support of the Nest Bus.
Yes, I believe that it is, I don't know 100%, but I believe what Grace said is that it was to continue to grow the use of the Nest Bus. And I'm not even sure if they were thinking about creating another one. I'm not 100%.
I know there's
sure
been
what it was.
discussion back and forth on a second bus at different times
Yes.
for us internally prior to this as well.
I've not seen the document you all are approving, but I do know that there's been some work with the social work team and Missouri Valley Community as an agency to continue the services and provide more support for the Nest Bus. But I'm not sure if that was included in the second one. That is just what I gathered from my conversation with Mrs. Durham. I'm sorry, I'm no more help.
I don't believe this is anything that we necessarily sought out. I understand, from what I understand, I thought this was something that was kind of brought to us as a partnership, that they had these funds available and do their work with families of lower income levels, that they were willing to donate this money or had this as an income stream to help us here.
Okay.
I
Cool,
think that,
thanks.
I think with the Action Agency, they always tend to help in many families. So I don't think partnership with that at all, especially since they're going to help a lot of families.
So it sounds like what we're doing here is trying to take advantage of further outreach, an additional funding source for what we already do.
Yes.
But with this won't commit us long-term for anything that might come up later
I
on.
didn't see anything
I
in
didn't see
there that
anything.
said we had to do anything different or
Yeah.
anything that we had to provide services at certain times or certain areas or anything other than what we were doing, other than this was just a way to help ease the burden with the district, basically.
Okay.
Well, and there's some documentation requirements that we'll have to meet in order, like the July 7, October 7, things that we'll have to meet in order to receive their funds. It
Quarterly,
looks
we have
like.
to give an update, it
Yeah,
looks like, on
basically,
the
but
usage and such, yes.
That's what I took it as also, Aaron, is just an opportunity that maybe they had some extra funds and this program maybe fit in that loop.
Contingent on the agreement, says it's contingent on coming from.
She's buffering.
Uh-oh, Varner, you're breaking
I
up.
was gonna
Breaking
say-
up, Christie, you're buffering bad.
Sorry.
Was Craig involved in any of this at all with the bus?
Not that I'm aware of. It was,
No.
it's pretty much centered in the social work
Okay.
department.
He does provide a driver for the Nest Bus and, of course, oversees the bus itself.
All right.
Okay, so this is a CARES Act. So
Yeah, there's a number 8. There's a,
yeah. Yeah, thanks. I was like, this is something,
that's what I was trying to say.
yeah. It's not a guarantee of funding, and furthermore, any amendments or absence of the CSBG funding may avoid.
So in other words, if the money's not there, then nobody has to follow through with the
Right, right.
agreement.
Is an action item, I move we accept.
I second.
All those in favor of the MOU with Missouri Valley Community Action Agency as offered and, of course, as available as it is written in the document, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I'm gonna start bringing the laptop.
Item number 7, we're going to be looking at the program evaluations, evaluation of the assessment program review. Do you have any questions on those documents that were in your pack? There's a lot of reading this month.
117 pages.
And Matt's catching up with them right now.
I didn't have any questions on that.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Well, let me see, no, that question I lined off to myself.
Okay.
I didn't see anything there. Seems to be everything.
Let me just make sure I didn't have any other.
I move we approve.
Second?
Second. Any more discussion?
Any more discussion about this?
I have a feeling that if I have any things that I want some clarity on, I can always ask. However, I mean, the things that I was wondering about weren't sort of like, oh my gosh, this is heading in such a terrible direction, right? It's just like, oh, hey, what?
A lot of that document is just the test that we might use to administer to any student, and we were required to let
Yeah,
them all
exactly.
know that we might be using this test to administer for our GATE students, or this test for us. And
Yeah.
it was really, and those descriptions, I don't write them, they come directly
Yeah,
from
look.
the testing platform or whatever we're using, so.
I had this like little marginal question written down about like, was there some talk about doing something other than Dora or doing a different version of Dora or something? But it was just such a vague recollection.
They had looked at what I call the brother of Dora, and that's Adam, and it's the math side.
There we go.
And actually,
That was it.
we're looking to pilot that again here in this coming fall.
Okay.
Because they have changed that. It was a very daunting test from our first pilot, and so we, Mrs. Jacoby and the team are looking at re-piloting that in the fall.
Okay, for those of you listening at home, Ms. Gillespie was just saying that, yeah, there's maybe some discussion about kind of taking up, doing some pilot testing for another version of the DORA test, so,
Just on the math side.
on the math
On that
side.
side, yes.
So I still got it.
I assumed with all that list of tests that you were just covering everything. I saw every educational, every IQ test I ever had to take in my life was
It
on
lists
there.
various contingencies
Yeah.
of any testing platform that we could get thrown or wish to use, it looked like.
Call a question?
Inform you that those are all the ones that we might pull from it at any time for any student in this.
Okay.
And then obviously the ones we're required to also.
All right. Any more discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? The GATE program review, and also I'm going to pass out these. I asked when I got here, well, these are really neat little things here, so I was told that the GATE program printed these with the 3D printer. They say MPS and owls and have a little star in the middle of them, so just a little trinket to see what some technology has came through with. Anyone have any questions about the GATE program for review?
You know, the only thing I want to add is that I've talked to Ms. Peel about some of my questions about the GATE program, wondering if it's, you know, I get that we're focusing on robotics, but are we doing more than that? Is this just the robotics club? We're doing more than that. And it was a good conversation to have with her. And Ms. Varner was actually there with me. This is when we were kind of taking a
Touring
tour of the facility
Facilities.
for GATE. Yeah, and it looks like a really cool. I mean, it's a great setup. If you haven't been to see what's going on there, fellow board members, to see what's going on with GATE, it's kind of cool. Brian, I know you and I are GATE alum, and I struggle to remember sometimes what I even did in GATE.
I was,
And so having something like this is kind of cool. I did want to say to her that I'd love to see more humanities.
yeah, well, okay.
You're probably going to piggyback on what I was saying.
Yeah, probably, and I was, it seemed that if you're going all robotics,
Gifted
getting
and
away from the
talented.
academic thing that you guys were doing when we used to have the GATE program, and I'm also, the numbers seemed awful low to me. So I'm not sure what,
Numbers in program?
yeah.
Well, and GATE is at Northwest, right?
Yes.
Well, high
So-
school, and high school GATE, there's high school GATE, there's.
Okay. So are all those programs out of one building, or is there just,
They're
there's
all
just
out of-
one
they're all
program,
in
one
one
GATE
building.
program across the district, and that's at Northwest? So
Yes.
maybe we'll get to see that even flourish more with the new principal's ideas and
Is there a high
excitement
school
going in
GATE
there.
program?
No.
I was gonna say, I thought
Yeah.
after eighth grade, it pretty much.
Yeah, it goes to, like you say, dual credit upper level classes.
Right.
Good.
yeah.
That's exciting that you already have such a great opinion of that program to,
to go for.
But yeah, I was happy that Ms. Peel was as receptive to hearing, like, hey, what are we doing to help the humanities get a foothold in here too? Because, I mean, not all, this STEM's always kind of attractive, right? You think about kids growing up to be engineers and doctors and whatnot, but hey, we also grow up to be humanities professors and make our own contributions to the
Not
world.
anymore, I'm all done.
So I just wanted to add that because I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah,
I'll move to
Because,
approval.
you know, when we used to have it at the high school, when I was still teaching there, I mean, we would go in and discuss books.
Oh, yeah.
I went in to discuss a book at one point in time, took part in quiz bowls and things like that. And I
Yeah,
just-
future problem
It just
solving.
seemed like a good program, and I just,
Dr. Myers moved to, motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of early childhood program review. Yet another program review.
I think, I'll move to accept it, and I've got just a little bit of discussion.
All right. Is there a second and before our two moving to discussion?
I'll second.
All right.
I-
Any discussions inside?
I just want to echo what I know Ed Harper says all the time, which is that the folks who work with early childhood in this district are, I mean, there's no way to thank them enough. And I am just following Ed's lead here. Ed's got a whole soapbox. He's got a couple of them that he'll stand on to talk about early childhood on. But it's clear in the numbers, in the data that we see here, in the progression that we see with kids, and the level of dedication that comes through in all that data, just how important it is to us.
It's amazing how a small number of people reach out to such a large number of families in that program, especially, overall, our social work team, our early childhood team, there's a lot of people that get touched by very few people in those small departments.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, so we see your data, early childhood, and we recognize all the work and dedication that lie behind those data.
all right. All those in favor of accepting the early childhood program review?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Aye. No, I wasn't. I was just about 20 minutes behind everybody. So sorry.
About 20 seconds.
I was reading.
No problem. Did we lose Ms. Varner?
Whoa.
I am here, but I can't see anything.
Okay. Well,
We can hear you.
Camera. We can hear you.
Okay.
And I believe Wesley's working on some visuals for you again.
She should get it back.
We're up again.
All right.
Thank you.
The first reading of the 2021 AMSBA policies. I actually don't have those handy with me.
I got them.
I was going to say they're in your email if anybody's,
Oh, I've got them.
okay.
Oh, I've got them.
We'll take the first readings, we'll get some comments back together if there's some things that we want to change or amend to those before we look at adoption of those. And those, of course, will be included whenever we send out the packet for everybody else to review as well, so. Now I need a motion to accept the regular agenda, I'm assuming with no other additions, because I'm the only one that added anything to it so far.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Moving on to reports. Dr. Lorenz.
The fiber project, the high school is nearing completion. They're completed running the conduit. They're in the process of setting boxes, and soon we'll be pulling the fiber through that conduit. The sod replacement with Mid-America Sports is in progress despite all the rain. Just a little heads up, just in general, because we had quite a few bids last month, and we're quite a few this month, and we'll have some more next month. Parts in all areas are getting difficult, so it's turning into a bit of a issue. The lead time on many products is 8 to 12 weeks, or 10 to 12 weeks, so we'll just cross our fingers and hope that we can get all of our products in and get things pretty much under control before school starts. I had a note on there, just the internet access and wiring for the new PN building is progressing. Spoke with Charlie from All Right Elevator. We did a little bit of, they subbed out to Johnson Control the fire alarm piece that they had in there at a savings of $6,500 for us, so.
We talked about that last month.
Yes, that was from last month.
Good job.
Yeah. So, and Johnson Control is who we use for all of our other controls, so we're good. That worked out well. We'll be talking walk-in freezers and some coolers next month. I believe that's just the highlights of, and I'll be back later with lots more stuff.
Dr. Mayer.
Get up where I can see.
Strategic plan.
No, it's the superintendent report. I wanted to start this year with giving you information like I give every year as to resignations, retirements of both our teachers.
Dr. Mayor, I'm going to have her give you the mic,
Gonna
just
give
so
you a
that people can
microphone.
hear you a little bit better on home remotely than if it doesn't pick up within the room.
All right.
Hello, is it on?
Yes, ma'am.
We got you.
Okay. Thank you. Can you put it on the slideshow, Leslie? Is that possible? As you see this year, we do have a very significant increase in resignations and retirements, which is rather applicable across the nation. I'm not sure what our percentage is. It is a big increase. And of course, I'm concerned about that, but I do also know that rather than thinking that this may be a trend, because last year was such a strange one, we'll look and see what is going to go on next year. I'm pretty certain it's the superintendent's fault, but to be able to say that, I will show you the exit survey and go ahead, Wesley. And these are the questions on the exit survey. If you'll click one more time. There is a way for employees to submit this anonymously. They can put it in the district mail, or they can put it in an envelope and have their secretary deliver it. There are many ways for them to submit it, and we have tried to make sure that they feel comfortable so that they'll be honest with us and be able to tell us what it is that is taking them away. Many of our people are up and moving. There's a lot of movement. I don't know exactly why. However, there was a significant increase this year.
I just wanted to point out also, Dr. Mayor and I talked earlier, on the top of this survey, there's some kind of demographic information a little bit. Ask you how long you've been in the district, what your position was, classified, teacher, whatever it would be going down. If you don't feel comfortable putting those things on the top that you feel may identify you, if you're going to be writing some comments you feel may be received negatively, then don't fill out the top portion, but please give us the bottom. The feedback that we're getting here are things to help us strengthen the district overall. If there's issues in the district, we want to be able to address them, so don't go away and not say it. Say it while you're here. So, go ahead.
Absolutely, and I will record my final fireside chat tomorrow, and we'll talk about the exit survey, and that you do not have to put the demographics at the top. And we can remove that if we need to. Okay, Wesley, thank you. I do want to talk about the amendments that I am presenting this month. As you know, next month, when we look at the closing the budget, a little bit later in the meeting, we'll talk about when that budget meeting is. It's the 24th on a Thursday rather than on a Tuesday, so that we're able to do the work on the budget that we need to, so we can close it out at the end of June. But here are the amendments for this month that we usually make amendments about every 3 months. As you can see, the revenues, and they really are much stronger than we anticipated. I project that Prop C, which is the sales tax, will also end up over budget more than we had projected. I did hear on the radio the city council had been talking about the sales tax in town and how it was looking much more increased and much more healthy than we even thought it would. But as you can see, there are different revenues that have all increased across the board. So interestingly enough, as you said, the DESE funding has increased. Our classroom trust, which is gaming money, has increased. So I guess people are going back to the boat feeling okay about that. So, but anyway, that classroom trust is actually a big revenue source for the state of Missouri schools. Down below, you can see the expenditures that are to be amended. The technology expenditures are most of them are to be reimbursed by CARES or ESSER money. And so the $206,000 there that we are changing and will be added to the budget is going to be reimbursed. However, it will be reimbursed about in October or November. So I wish that it was able to do that before the end of the fiscal year, but that's not going to happen. Our legal services were up some. Our workers' comp was up. The athletic grounds, of course, we had included the track repair and the track renovation. So that was the 300 over the 250 that we had tagged for that. Then the upkeep of equipment, as you can see, it was about $62,000 increase. And the next slide will show you the details of the equipment and how much each line item was. As you can see, the Eastwood HVAC and the Beaker boiler will be reimbursed through ESSER, or at least that's our plan. That will be also in October or November. But the elevator came in a little bit less than we had thought it would. Dr. Lorenz, isn't that correct?
The elevator did. It came in, well, we ended up getting 6,500 on it. The Beaker boiler actually came in at three. It's going to come in, they'll see in a little bit, 375. I was thinking it was going to be 4 or 4 1/4, so.
Okay, well, then the boiler then is more than the amendment. And when we close out the budget at the end of the year, it will be reflected then. The upkeep of the grounds is, of course, the track, as we had said. So the total from our fund balance that we are going to use for these expenditures is $752,521, with the Beaker boiler and the HVAC at Eastwood being reimbursed later. There is a critical teacher shortage in this country, and the high school has been dealing with this for a few years now. It has hit the elementary level. We have several classrooms and several vacancies that we do not have one applicant for. So we have met as an administrative team, looked at what we could do. The principals did a tremendous job. It was not pleasant for them, but they did a really good job of looking to see where we could make some changes, where we could make some reductions, so that we can reduce the number of classrooms, probably at Spainhauer, Eastwood, and Southeast. And you will see then there that first grade and fourth grade and fifth grade, we're going from 8 sections down to 7 classroom sections. And the approximate class size you see there in the first grade is the future class size will be about 22 to 23 students. The fourth grade, 23 to 24 students, and the fifth grade, approximate class size of 25 students. Still not bad. It's just that it's 3 or 4 students more than we have been experiencing in Marshall. The Northwest, the TLC program is reducing their classrooms by 2. And so as it stands now, that's our reduction. I would expect those changes to probably be permanent.
Just
one question. When we
Go ahead, you first.
I was just going to say,
Because I'm still getting my thoughts here.
okay. When you factor these numbers in, has there been any discussion or any real contacts with the building level administrators on people who want to remain distant even next year? Or has that really not been talked about at all, or people came in speaking about that? Just curious.
We have talked about it quite a bit, and originally I thought I was going to. We have talked about it quite a bit, and originally I planned to have a proposal for you all this evening, but I really feel that Mrs. Jacoby needs to be involved in that, because she'll be the one overseeing the distance learning, and she has been trying to close up a middle school
Current
year,
job going to
so
another.
her current job, and so that will be presented to you all next year. But I do foresee we will continue to have some distance learners. It will look a little bit different, but I believe that our number in reduction is because of our distance learners. Right now, we're at about 275. I would guess that will go down for next. That number will go down, and more students will return to in-seat. So And right now, I think we currently, for next year, our MOCAP vendor students, we are already have like 5 or 6 applications, and a lot of those are ones that are in MOCAP currently this
Currently?
school year. Yes, we've added one new one, I believe, and we've had one who's graduating, so.
Thank you.
Yes,
sir.
If we're going to be reducing, does that mean we're cutting back on the number of teachers? Is there any plan
There,
to?
no one is losing their job.
No, that's
It's
not
all-
what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Was there any way to supplement the increase of the class size with additional teachers' aides or something like that?
That may be possible if there are people out there
So we can't
willing
even
to,
find
I mean, it's.
paraprofessionals either?
Let me have Diane.
Yeah.
I would just say that in my tenure here at Marshall, most of the time, the classroom sizes that we're looking at from going 8 to 7 have been 25 students. So our numbers, even with splitting that 8th classroom into the 7 other ones, is still below what we've usually had. That 5th grade number is probably about remaining the same. They've always been about 25. And I believe, didn't you say we are down 57 kids in enrollment already for this current year? So I don't see that this is an influx of more students in a classroom based on our numbers that we've had previous year.
That would be my concern, suddenly we put, I mean, anybody that's been in the classroom knows you can add 4 students to a class, and it changes the whole parameters of everything going on in there.
It does, it does. We, once again, I hesitate to say it's a trend, but we have lost students this year. Now, it's hard to say why, and it's hard to say if those students will come back again, but we are down about 57 the last time I calculated, so.
How does the 2 classrooms affect TLC? I mean, how many classrooms do you have now?
Well, right now, we have 2 for elementary, 2 for middle, 2 for high school. And then we have an options room that is used for disciplinary purposes. We will be moving to 1 classroom, elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high school. And
2 elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high school.
2 elementary, 1 middle, 1 high school.
What,
So we have 22 students only. Now, I think that next year, it will probably look different, and maybe significantly different, but it doesn't now. So, you know, we
So
can't.
there's not actually even the need necessarily to have all 6 of the classrooms that we have now? I mean, we're going down 2 classroom sizes, but it sounds like that we're still able to accommodate the amount of students that we actually have in the program with current trends.
Yes.
I would
Okay.
just be real cautious of, I mean, looking at that from, there's a reason that those kids are there, and there's a reason that they needed small numbers in those classrooms. And so 22 divided among 3 is
4.
not very many.
22 and
So
4.
22 and 4, still, if you're talking about kids that are high needs, and that's the reason they're there.
Sure.
And we're trying
Sure.
to recuperate them, to get them back in a bigger classroom setting. We need, that's concerning.
That's an average class size of right about 6
Agree.
people.
Yeah.
especially when you get into the older ages, I would think that would become more of an issue. 'Cause you're
We'll just need to be supportive.
We just,
Of that.
yes, and there are lots of ripples in that lake. But we felt that we couldn't really justify increasing teaching positions anywhere while we're decreasing them elsewhere. So we're trying to be consistent across the board.
And this isn't something, I mean, this isn't just gonna become the status quo. We're gonna leave these positions open, and as they are able to be filled, we'll adjust the class sizes again?
We will adjust class sizes across the district if that is need be. I would imagine that we will have many of our distance kids come back. A lot of kids who don't feel comfortable at school are not really feeling that they're being successful, have decided to stay distance this year. I would imagine those kids will come back. And some of those kids, I would imagine, will go to TLC if they don't feel comfortable or successful in that setting. Okay, so moving then to another issue that I have received great help from Ashley Christie on this problem. It has been the tradition here at Marshall High School for our seniors to graduate and not return then, of course, after they do graduate. However, since DESE now is reflecting hours rather than days, our seniors are short this year. Now, DESE is not they're not calculating attendance hours this year because of everything else going on. But our seniors ended up with 1,038 hours rather than 1,044. So we have to do something with our calendar that will ensure that our students have the mandated 1,044 hours. DESE requires districts also to put 36 hours on top of the 1,044 for weather. So inclement weather, late starts, snow days, whatever that is, those days can be considered distance learning. And Diane's the expert of this, so she can jump in here if she wants to. AMI is the way that they code that for students to learn at a distance. And you've heard probably people say, we won't have snow days anymore.
Yeah.
Well, this last year, we had 2 regular snow days, and then we went into AMI. Because I just didn't have the heart to say, kids, you don't look forward to any snow days. I think that probably will be what happens as we go forward. Because schools and snow days, they are just becoming a thing of the past. I have asked the CTA, because we need to increase hours, I have asked them to look at these possibilities. Adding the Monday and Tuesday of that Christmas week, which is the 20th and 21st, back into the calendar. Right now, with counting the weekends, et cetera, there are 17 days in the Christmas break. If we move those 2 back in, that will take care of the hours that we are short for our seniors. We could change half-day Wednesdays in March to full days. That would make up 2 days. We could move the first day of school back. I don't like to do that, and that causes all sorts of, and there is a law that you can't start before a certain number of days after Labor Day. Before Labor Day, rather. Or we could take a day off spring break and a day off Easter break. None of those are popular, so I'm not going to make the decision. The CTA, I've asked the CTA to let me know what they think. They will have a recommendation, and I will have a recommendation for you next month. That will be changing the calendar. Now, what we have, Brian and I talked about today, is the calendar goes in the handbooks. And Linda had asked me about this at the first of the week. What we are probably going to suggest is that the calendar be removed from the handbook, that it is, once it is adopted, that as a sheet, it can go into the handbook, and we'll call it a hangable calendar. You can put it on your refrigerator. So it will be next month when we will have the suggestion as to how to take care of those hours that our seniors are missing. In the strategic plan, as I'm presenting it, and as you saw, if you were able to look at the strategic plan, over and over again, the position of a communications and public relations officer was discussed. The board has discussed that many times, and I did in the strategic plan write the number, and I think there were 3 of the groups that suggested that the district consider a communications and public relation person. Of course, we all know public relations is critical for a school. It's building trust and building goodwill in the community is vital. It is critical, but it is fragile. So I do think that it's a good idea. I do think it's worthwhile. And these are what we need for the person who is working on this to ask, what is the majority perspective of Marshall's community members? We really do need to find out what most of the people in Marshall are thinking. And how do we stay proactive and remain a positive influence in Marshall? Those are important things that any school district needs to face and to answer. Of course, in a crisis, one of the absolute necessities is clear, frequent communication. It is very important that the administration and the school district, the officials that run the school district, are able to communicate across the board. So we then need to ask and then answer these questions. Who is in charge of communication? Well, right now, we would say the superintendent's in charge of communication, and possibly that's the way it should be. The spokesperson to deliver this communication and who handles the media is very important. We, as an administrative team, I ask the principals to always send media my way. I would rather them not have to deal with any kind of sticky situation if there is one. And as we saw last year, sometimes we can get our story told inaccurately. So it was mentioned in the strategic plan and mentioned in the committees several times, so I put it in the strategic plan that we have coming up. Here are our upcoming events. These are the ones that will finish out. Now, summer school doesn't really finish out the year. It is for the next year, especially in July now. But I kind of divided these up into two. Our first session of summer school and the last from June the 2nd to June the 29th. The second session of summer school, July the 12th through July the 30th. And then for next year, to get next year started, kindergarten screening is the 9th, 10th, and 11th of August. Online registration is the 12th, and the first day of school, as of now, is August 25th. Do you have questions for me?
So where's the director of communications going to pop up again? I don't see it on the agenda here, so it doesn't look like it's a...
It's in the strategic. It's in the strategic plan.
And that's it for now?
That's it for now. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Any more questions? All right, thank you. Additionally, you saw the CTA report, the PDC report, the special education report, curriculum instruction. Is there anything that you representatives would like to add? Or would you like to give a report tonight? I'm looking at you because you're one. No? Ms. Wise? All right. Please grab the mic so everybody at home hears.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you want to have something to say, you've got to say it to everybody. So.
I'll take it to the district.
There we go. It's your last chance this year.
I know, so that's why I'm here. And so thank you guys for understanding the challenges that we've had this year. I hope that you understand that we have tried the best that we could to provide professional development for our district. We've given different opportunities. I know our funding was cut short. However, I feel like anything that was presented to us was given to our district. And we do have some great plans for next year. So I don't know what else to say other than thank you. I feel like our committee has worked very hard, and we hope that you are proud of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see and go on and watch some of the Google presentations. I browsed a few of those in the library. When I have some down moments, they bring me a little levity. So check those out, and I hope they bring some instruction to everybody. I saw a nod from you that you didn't have anything to add as well, or from CTA at this time.
I was gonna say I would add to Gina's report that we have, I believe it is 9, we usually do summer academy, where teachers come in and do learning, but we're doing that book study, summer academy book study, and we have 9. 9 or 10 being facilitated this summer, and it's about 50 teachers who are participating in that. And it was a little bit limited number because we have to purchase the book, so that can get a little more pricey. So we've kind of taken a twist to still provide that PD this summer in a different manner. So we're trying to do, and I think it's going to be successful. So we even have one of our facilitators has tweeted the author of her book, and he's going to come to one of their meetings. So that's a visitor from the author.
Wow.
So-
when you do these books, what's the type of books that you're doing the
We
studies
have a
of?
couple on restorative justice and student discipline. We have some on reading strategies, on equity. So there's some good topics on there. So I'll make sure that I get the topics in my report in June, so you all know the topics that are followed through. So I think it was a very different way for the PDC to think about summer learning for teachers, knowing that they're tired, but they still want to grow. So.
Any more questions or comments? All right, principals report, MHS. But before you go, I know that we've had quite a few comments from the board and from the community, probably to us. I have heard nothing negative about graduation. I want to just let you all know the festivities of the week were well received by those in the community and as well, of course, those graduating. So kudos to Ian and the rest of your team, as well as at the 8th grade as well. So don't think I wanted to leave you out there. Both sessions seemed to go well. The parents didn't mind coming through too. I actually know someone who has twins and they attended both sessions and they didn't mind at all. So they were in 2 different sessions. So both of those celebrations seem to have gone quite well. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight, I want to thank all of you guys for giving us this opportunity to speak with you. With me, I have 2 students. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. You may already know them, but I will also introduce them to you. And they will have an opportunity to speak, just tell you a little bit about what they do at Marshall High School, or one of the things that they do at the high school. We had 40 MHS debate students compete in 18 tournaments this year. 3 MHS students have achieved the National Speech and Debate Association Academic All-American Award. Those students are John Miles, Connor Grossenberg, and Olivia Kiso. Of the more than 150,000 members of the NSDA, fewer than 1% of these students earn Academic All-American Award each year. And our debate team, if you're not aware, is sponsored by Mr. Paul Geringer, who's been with Marshall Public Schools for a little bit. I believe he's on his 42nd or 43rd year. And so he is a tremendous mentor to these young people, and I want to give them an opportunity to speak to you, and then I'll come back to the mic and give you a little bit more.
Thank you.
All right, well, as Mr. Wirtz said, I'm Connor Grossenberg,
I'm Olivia Kiso.
and we are both members of the Marshall Speech and Debate Program. He did steal some of my thunder with talking about us receiving the All-American Award, which we are both extremely excited to have been able to achieve this past year. This year was nothing short of difficult in terms of everything, but especially with our debate program. We went from totally, doing a total 360 in terms of what we do. We went from going every other Friday night up to Kansas City to participate in speech and debate tournaments to doing them all online from the school, whether it be Geringer's room, the library, or even our own basements. We debated on Zoom-like calls, so it was literally, we would be on a Zoom call where we would carry out our debate tournaments, which came with benefits. We got home quicker at night. You didn't have to sit through a 2-hour bus ride coming home. We were able to be on our own, home turf. It was much more comfortable than being in a totally different school. And we only had to dress from the waist up. I could wear a pair of shorts in my shirt and tie, which was fantastic. On the other side, there were a lot of negatives with it. We never got the same connection that we do in a normal year, whether it be with competitors that we meet in debate tournaments or even our own team. I know Olivia and I both talked about earlier today at school, neither of us really know our freshmen like we would in a normal year, which is something we lost out on tremendously with COVID's impact. Other than that, Mr. Wirtz kind of talked about the successes that we had this past year. We were able to attend 18 tournaments with over 40 kids participating in all of those. That was 6 more than we've ever competed in a normal year, which was fantastic. Many of us received multiple awards, and overall, it was a great year. So thank you all for your continued support.
Thank you guys both. And they are very busy young people, and they're ready to go, and so don't feel bad about it. You guys can go.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, kid.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you for coming. I appreciate it, guys. Olivia is usually not short for words, so that was a little bit surprising for me, but that's okay. All right. Well, you can see there are two fantastic examples of Marshall High School students. They will both be returning next year and leading those programs and many more. So I'm excited to see what those kids do. The next thing I'm going to discuss with you guys, just a little bit about some of the things that we did here toward the end of the year. Teacher Appreciation Week was a big activity at Marshall High School, within Marshall Public Schools in general. But I want to tell you a little bit about some of the activities that we did. We decided to spread it out throughout the week and have something different, and we had kind of a bar theme. And the bar theme being that we had a breakfast bar on Monday. And so we brought breakfast for the faculty, and the faculty was able to graze on that throughout the morning. And we also made deliveries for those who couldn't make it to where it was set up at. Then on Tuesday we had some sweet treats for them. On Wednesday was Cinco de Mayo. We had tacos from La Paz catered for our teachers. Thursday we had Sonic drinks, and a dessert bar on Friday followed their lunch activities. In addition to that, our student council, we have tremendous students. Our student council provided some warm messages for our teachers of appreciation and left them on their desks and mailboxes and hallway doors. And really a special moment. That's something that I find is probably the most rewarding thing to receive as a teacher or educator, is a note from a student with just a basic thank you for the time that you put into me. So I know our teachers are very appreciative of that. I'm very appreciative of our student council for doing those things, and for the students that participated in that. Additionally, they fed them a little bit of lunch as well on that Friday, and so the teachers were really taken care of. They had well wishes, lunch provided, as well as a dessert bar with ice cream and the whole works. So I know they enjoyed that. Additionally, moving on, we had an achievement night on Wednesday, May 12th. I saw some of you there, but it was a packed house. We had a ton of students recognized. We gave away the most blankets. Ms. Niemeyer, how many blankets did we give away? 8 or 9? Yeah, it covered the stage. It was just really cool to see all those kids receive those blankets who had participated in 3 activities for multiple years, at least 2, and lettered in 2. The senior celebrations, we mentioned some of those earlier today. I just want to highlight them for you. We did a sunrise breakfast. It was the first time that we've had this at Marshall High School, where we invited the families and parents of the seniors to come in and have breakfast on the last day of senior attendance prior to our graduation walkthrough. And it was a tremendous success. We had a line out the door. I want to extend a great deal of gratitude to the OPA staff that work at the high school. Kelly and the rest of the team there did a tremendous job with 6 hands of feeding. There had to have been at least 200 or 220 people there. So it was very impressive. Our entire commons was packed. The rest of the students were up in their classrooms preparing for their finals. That day we practiced graduation. After the graduation practice, we came back and had a parade, which was organized at the high school, a senior parade where they came through. We live streamed that at the square, and the students were able to decorate their vehicles. Some of them had trailers and were able to share that moment with their friends and their families. So it was really it was a really cool, laid-back event, and the weather cooperated enough for us to get that in. And then later that night at 7:30, we had a dessert bar in place of the senior picnic out at the concession stand area, and it was a huge success as well. Trevor Borgman, he almost knocked me over as he was leaving and pounding my fist and telling me how happy he was that we were able to do these things, and I saw those sentiments in the rest of his classmates. But we had cornhole bags, spike ball, never played it before in my life, but you got to be a mover. Let's see, what else we have? Footballs and frisbees. There was tennis rackets, checkers. I didn't know high school kids like to play checkers, but if you put some jumbo checker boards on the ground, they're all about it. It becomes a real mind game. They move slow, but they're determined. So that was just a few activities that we had for them. And then obviously on Sunday at 2 o'clock, we had a tremendous graduation. The sun shined upon our faces. And many, many sunburns I saw on Monday morning from students sitting in in the crowd, but also our faculty who were there. It's always great to see them and to see you guys celebrating those kids. There's so many people that have an impact on those children, and that's just one event that kind of culminates. So I really feel like I'm the one that's the lucky person. I got to see that come to an end and a new beginning for so many kids. And I know how many of those people that you spoke about earlier when you're talking about our social work teams, our specialty groups within our school, our TLC program, all of our counselors, food service, custodial staff. You can hear them laughing in our hallways and having fun with kids. And those things all rush back in your mind whenever you see those smiling faces in front of you, just praying that you'll hurry up so they can get off that hot track. Last thing that I was going to share with you guys is the summer school plans. Obviously, we're wrapping up our school year. It's a little bit different at the high school because we're credit-based, so we're waiting on those final grades to come in, and our teachers are working diligently at that. But we have over 265 kids at the high school that are planning to attend summer school, which is a very good thing. I think encouraging students this summer, if I were to be speaking to the families, including my own, our kids need to be in school, and I support them going to school in the summertime, especially this year, to give them the best shot at having a great next school year and the social connections that they missed out on. And so if I were going to leave you guys with anything before I open up to questions, is that relationships are so much more. I've always felt that they were important to me, but they're even more so important now. And so I think what I've learned over the last 2 years as being the principal of Marshall High School is that you attract and retain quality people, and you treat them with the most respect possible, and you support them and try to help them help others achieve greatness. It's not about me, and it's not about anybody else in this room. It's about the students that we get to serve, and I'm just blown away that I have that opportunity. So thank you. I'll open for questions or comments.
And I have a question. How many of the 2021 seniors have to go to summer school to graduate?
There were 7 individuals on there's seven students.
Okay.
Ian, I'm not sure that you were aware, but I was in the parking lot for the fireworks, which I thought was a tremendous touch. And there were a lot of community members sitting in the parking lot. So I love it that they were able to participate in the celebration of graduation. So I wanted you to know that there were just a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I had a lot of people reach out to me and want to know when that fireworks show was. So I put it at 8:50 on purpose, and I knew I was going to shoot them off at 9 o'clock. That way no one would miss it. There was a handful of people that still missed it. But our parking lot was completely packed. There wasn't a spot to park in there. And the Career Center was full as well. Fireworks are expensive and they go up fast. I'll tell you guys that.
Yeah, I just went over at 65 across the.
Ian, I want to say thank you. It was very good to hear from you tonight and everything you said about people impacting. And I reiterate to all the staff, and I say all staff, because everyone impacted. I just saw a video the other day of a lady who wore crazy glasses to school and crazy lipstick, and she was a lunch lady, and she got a thank you note from an 8th grade. So I want to thank everyone who works in PS and the impacts that they put on their lives. You are so right about everyone touching someone.
Good lady of the year.
So I've got a few questions. Not to be the frog at the garden party, but I did have a few members of the community ask me about when, where, why, and how with the senior parade, because all this, it just seemed like it was happening. And a few people reached out to say, but I thought that the principal said this was going to be a one-year thing from just last year. So are you able to say now whether this is going to be an annual thing henceforth? Are you leaving that to the next person to decide about?
I think what I've attempted to do, and maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, is to open dialogue with your student population and those student council members who are responsible for all of the students within that school, to be their voice and allow for them to move us in the direction that we need to go. Of course, we need to maintain traditions. I'm very proud of Marshall Public Schools and Marshall High School and the traditions that we have, but we have room for growth. We have room to bring new things to the table and to bring energy to the lives of the people in this community. They witness things on the internet, social media, that we didn't have that experience. We didn't know what they were doing in Brunswick, Missouri, much less across the world. And so when those kids look at me in the face and they say, Mr. Virts, we want to have a parade, and it's their senior year, then we're going to do it if I can make it happen.
Okay, so there's the backstory behind it, right? And so it sounds like some dialogue is going to happen with student council as to whether it happens for the next year?
I would say they'll look at that. I will give my plans to the new principal as those plans were given to me. And then I think within any leadership position that you have a responsibility to the people that you're leading to listen to them and to give them an opportunity to share what they think would be good and then to support it.
So you're saying the next principal then? Is that?
I won't be making those decisions in the spring of 2022.
Cool, okay. So then a couple more questions. So to what extent is isn't summer school virtual?
Almost all students are virtual. We do have some students in alternative settings or that require a in-seat placement, whether it be a request from their parent or we have determined that they have been unsuccessful in a remote situation.
Okay, so there are going to be some situations in which.
Yeah, we'll have a handful of kids at the high school, but primarily it has been communicated that it would be a remote situation for our students.
Your comment about the relationship building made me second guess, are they going to be directly in the classroom or are we talking about reaching out online? Okay, last question. So I know that you're handing off the building to a new principal, and I wanted to know, so what are some of the plans for upkeep on the building or maintenance, or what's going to be going on with the building while the students are out for the summer? Are there any big renovation projects, any updates, anything that's going to be going on along those lines? Or is that something for the next leadership to take over?
There's a lot of plans, there's a lot of things that need to be done. For instance, the bathrooms have been communicated multiple times. We had a display here earlier this year at the board meeting of some concerned areas throughout our district, including some at the Marshall High School campus. I would be happy to provide a list of items that I have submitted to be repaired or fixed, but I also realize that there's a priority list, and some of those were listed up there were big items. An elevator in one of our major schools, that's a big piece.
And I was just curious as to whether there's anything specifically that's going to be happening, things that we can look forward to, but if it's all kind of still in the planning phases, then.
One thing that you can really look forward to is the Commons renovation. There's over $10,000 sitting in our fundraising account in order to improve the signage. That's something that I would like to work on in June in conjunction with Ms. Jones. I've been respectful of Ms. Jones as she's finishing up her school year in Leavenworth, Kansas. And so when she is able to report, then I will do my best to provide her the materials that she needs to be successful to start her new position, as well as I'm not going anywhere. I live right here in Marshall, and anybody can pick up the phone anytime they want to and call, and I'll give them the honest truth on whatever they need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the honest truth comment too as well, but I really do appreciate what you and your staff have done and the fact, the way we've talked about students, even when we were on the stage talking about students on Sunday, I could feel your passion. and how proud you were and the way the students interacted with you. I think Ian might have a couple special handshakes with students too as they were coming across the stage. So, I mean, those are all good things to see. You're not just an administrator, you're somebody they're looking to, somebody they're looking up to. So, thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Done a great job this year.
Moving on to old business.
Oh, boy.
Dr. Mayor, are you going to explain the extra duty stipend recommendations and adjustments to us?
That's not me.
Is that Ian? Oh, that was Kristen's, that was the, yes, that's the coach's thing, sorry. Excuse me.
No,
Sorry about that, Dr. Mayor.
No, that's okay.
I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing.
Here for questions. Are we just here, I wasn't at the last meeting, so am I just here
Oh,
for
you're in
questions?
trouble.
Or what do you want?
Well, there was just there was some confusion because it was just what this amount was gonna add to it. It didn't tell us total what we were looking at.
I believe Ms. Varner had
I
some
made the
questions as
mistake
well.
of going off of the previous person that presented it to the board. I went off their thing and it didn't make any sense to me, and so I changed it. So that's what the update is.
This is much easier to understand than.
I thought so
Right.
too.
I have a couple questions too, so.
Okay.
I do too, Brian, whenever it comes around.
Go ahead. Oh.
No, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, when you're adjusting the football positions, are you giving the head football coach now the option to move coaches around, or, I mean, the
As
freshmen?
of right now, there is only 2 football coaches on staff. There's a head coach and 1 assistant. Is that all that's left?
We got some of
I
the,
believe
There's
there's some.
two
I
that
believe
are still
there's some
left,
things in
assistants.
employment that we're going to talk about as well.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, right now, they're all assistants. Basically, we don't have enough students in our program where the freshman team can practice by themselves, the JV team can practice by themselves, and the varsity can practice by themselves. And so right now, they're all assistants because they're dealing with kids 9 through 12 the entire time. And so that's why this recommendation came to us, because they're still they're all doing certain things, like offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator are coming in extra on Saturday to review film and get the game plan for the next week. All the assistant coaches are going to JV games, freshman games, which this past year was the first year that we added freshman games back in, or frosh games, which is your freshmen and your sophomores.
Okay, so is this adding money to the football program as far as coaching? Are you changing the income from the freshman to the assistant?
You're going to have to say that again, you cut out.
You're breaking up,
So-
Christie.
So are you saying that, Christy, let me try to say that for you. What I'm getting is, she's asking, we're changing the number of coaches, but are we changing the number of salary dollars that are
We are
set
not-
aside?
We're not changing the number of coaches.
Okay.
Basically, the way that it was set up when we created it 6 years ago, they had a freshman head coach and they had a freshman assistant coach.
Yeah.
And so we just want to make all the coaches that are on there, which there's 6 assistant coaches if you don't give them
Right.
titles. We want to make them all assistant coaches and make them all the same amount of money, because the amount of work that they do is the same unless you're an offensive or defensive coordinator.
And that was the question. Are we adding money to this, of the salary? What I was asking is,
It would change, the increase to remove the assistant football coach and change it would be $14.80.
so then my next question is, if the program has lost a number of kids, do we need that many coaches?
Yeah.
The program has more students in it this year than it has in the past 6 years. And there were 71 kids on the roster this year. So it's grown over the years. Probably our lowest number was 4 years ago, and it was in the upper 30s, lower 40s. So the program is growing. Now, if the numbers begin to drop, then yes, you don't have to fill those positions. Same with like your C team basketball. If you don't have that program for a couple of years, you cannot hire that coach and wait until your numbers start to grow again.
That comes back around to my question then. So if we suddenly get 15 or 20 freshman football players, the head coach will have the option to designate Coach so-and-so, you are now going to take the freshman.
Yes,
All right.
but they wouldn't deal as much with the JV or the freshman.
Yeah.
They would, whoever it is, would split it up however they deem necessary. Now, this year, we did operate with one less coach because we couldn't find anybody to hire. And so we still want to hire that position back if we have people that are willing to coach.
You have questions, more questions?
I mean, I don't know.
I know the freshman coach in the past did just as much work as any assistant. The pay different or lower, but and on the Saturdays they did act as a part of the staff, and their salary was lower. So I just make sure the board understands that, you know, whether they freshmen or not, still putting in the same amount of time as all coaches.
And that was another reason why we, the committee, had decided that we wanted to
Make their pay equal.
up it, yes.
And I think another key point that hasn't been mentioned is part of the reason for having the coordinator stipends essentially is to attract the best that we can possibly attract for our kids and the coaching staff. It's one way to say, you know, we realize that you bring a level of expertise and understanding and leadership that you're going to not only lead the student athletes in front of you, but you're also going to have to help manage the other assistant coaches and provide them. I do understand that everybody is, for the most part, has the same amount of time. But I served as a defensive coordinator for many years, and there's a tremendous lot more responsibility with that. If you don't have your stuff done, then the other assistants don't know what they need to do. And they are supportive of that role, but it also gives you an opportunity to train and mentor within your program to bring along young coaches to become those coordinators and head coaches eventually.
Well, it's good to put on their resume if they can
Sure.
have that particular
Yeah.
position, and we can bring them through and train them and move them on.
I think it's kind of the same thing that we talked about with the Northwest school situation earlier, is when data shows us that we need to move in a certain direction, then hopefully we will respond.
So my comments on this maybe go here, maybe don't, but I've taken some time and worked with Kristen to get and gather some data regarding, and this may not be a popular comment, and if it's not, I'm sorry. It's the reality, it's what the data shows us, and it's what the numbers show us. I am 100% pro paying people to do the job that we hire them to do. However, athletically, I can only speak athletically, that's all I've dove into at this point. We have several programs, athletic programs, that are not maximizing our students' opportunities with participation, meaning if Misha tells us that we can go 8 times for football and play a varsity game 8 times and 7 times for JV and 5 times for freshmen, we're paying them a stipend because that's our knowledge. These leaders are saying you should pay them $1,480 because they can go 15 times on top of their practice times. But what we're finding and what I've proven is the majority, not all, but the majority of our athletic programs are not maximizing our opportunities. So in particular, if we have 13 sessions available and our coach only schedules 8, we as a district have paid them $10,000, I'm going to use that number, $10,000 to run that program, but they've only done a portion of what our understanding is that they will do. And so I don't know, I'm concerned, I want to make sure that we as a district are, our kids are getting back what we as a board say that they should or would, based on what Misha and our agreement with Misha is. I can understand if we're canceling sports or canceling activities, I don't care what it is, DECA, I don't care what it is. If we're canceling for weather or canceling because we don't have numbers or something like that, that's understandable. But to simply not schedule or simply cancel because we don't want to go or we don't think that it's the right fit, they're still getting the same amount of money, but our kids are not getting the same opportunities.
We're not playing full schedules in some of our sports?
No, sir, we are not.
No. And what you're talking about is more of an oversight problem, not necessarily.
I'm just saying with these numbers, I'm bringing that up only because I've been looking at that over the last month.
Would you share those numbers with me?
I will be happy to. It's a
I will
packet.
tell you, our freshman football team does not have a full schedule because there is a quarter stipulation on how many
quarters.
they can play per week. And so you're gonna be out of quarters before the end of the season if they play the freshman game, they play the JV game, and so forth. And so that is the case for that. But she is talking about varsity sports, and that, yes.
I'm talking about all sports. I'm talking about even JV teams that have JV teams that don't have five games, or, I'm just saying that as a whole, like,
It sounds, Ellen, like you're talking about maybe, is there a way to tie, and this is, yeah, it's going to sound like less
So a lot of our
less awesome,
freshmen are playing
right?
varsity?
But, hold on for me, Harry. But it sounds like what you're asking is there a mechanism by which we can tie compensation to actually delivering on the job? Not performance per se, but actually fulfilling the schedule to its highest potential. I add that only as a question, because I don't know, but it sounds like that's sort of like. what you're thinking
there's a
about.
packet full of documentation, and I just have not had time to print it and share it. I've had some questions over the last 5 or 6 years in different things, and so I just asked Kristen to share all of them. It is a little bit, there can be information that's misleading because we've been in COVID, and so you have to respect that, but going back years previous to, it gave me some thought that, if we didn't have a Garinger, would they go to 18? We as a board need to make sure that we're spending, and if we're adding money in places, that we're doing it with clear definition, I guess.
Just keep an eye out for this for the next upcoming year. And also you've got a new athletes coming in, give them structure so they can actually hold accountability. And if something needs to be reevaluated, you look at this at a year down the road after you went through the next year.
All right.
Correct.
So I want to further question. I'm going to be no questions on the coach.
Varner, lean into that microphone.
You broke up terrible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was waiting to see if I could catch enough of it.
Sorry. So were you able to get all that with the holding off a year and paying attention and holding accountability?
That
with
we
your-
We got that.
Okay, great. So the girls wrestling coach, no questions there. That's hands down support. So National Honor Society, I just want some clarification on that. And then I know you talked about the birdcage, and again, I just want clarification on that.
For NHS, last year when this was proposed, most of these came through last year, and then we went into COVID, and then they didn't happen. Lance was in charge of the committee last year, and so they never came to the board. NHS gave us a list of duties that she does, that she's done in addition, basically a job description from what the previous advisor did. And that's what we ask anybody. If they don't think that their pay is sufficient, then they need to tell us what they're doing, how many hours outside of the contract time they're doing stuff, because it is a stipend position, it's not a classroom position. And so she came to us with that, and so that's where that recommendation came from. Birdcage, we couldn't find anybody else to take the second spot, and so the one that had the spot said, I will do it if she's doing the work for 2 people, then I think she needs to be paid for 2 people. The Birdcage sponsor goes to every single home and away, home football games and home basketball games. And any time that we take a spirit bus somewhere, they're responsible with riding that bus to that event. They're in charge of assemblies. Again, we have a job description for what that position does.
Okay, so on the sheet, it's stating that there is no increase or no decrease, but we're just move.
Correct.
Be paid for both.
Yes.
Okay. And so you want to go into the BMS so we have an understanding of that real.
Did you say BMS?
Yeah. Do you?
Okay. The Eastbury Club was something that Lance had came up with a couple years ago. Ian's got to leave. And Paula said
Thank you, sir.
that it never happened. And so that's why she wanted to get rid of it. She said she didn't know anything about it. She didn't know what it was. And so that's why she wanted to get rid of it. The student council, she has 2 people that she wants to do one job. So it would be right now it's at category 10. So or category 14. So she wants to give each person like at least $700, but in order to do that, you got to move category up, and then she wants to split it, or move it back and split it into 2 positions. And then that would be the third one, adding that extra BMS, student council sponsor. And she said that she is increasing the load on them also because she's trying to kind of get them ready for when they go into high school, since they are doing so much more at the high school level now than what they had.
Are there any more questions?
Go for it,
Discussion?
Harry. I cut Harry off
No.
earlier, so.
I just can't,
There is only 2 varsity sports that don't have a full schedule right now.
And just to let everyone know, we're talking about an increase or a change in roughly 9,200, I believe was what the number was.
Yeah.
$9,250
Yes,
for,
extra duty assignments.
I don't see where it's going. I don't.
All right. Well, this was an action item. Is there a motion?
Well, let me cogitate just a second and think about whether I've got another question, because I think that we've still got Ellen's issue kind of like just hanging out there.
I think that what Ellen's talking about as far as scheduling is something that needs to be done with expectations set with the person in the position.
Okay.
And then, of course, there is a review that is done on every coach in every sport. And so if you don't meet the expectations that set, if the expectation is that you will schedule these kids a full schedule, and then you don't, then that's something that's handled when you're talking about reemployment.
Right.
And I think that's the way that you would have to address and look at that.
Makes sense?
I point out that $6,000, $6,105 is for the head wrestling coach for the girls. That is something our school does need.
Well,
Yeah, that's a new
this
program.
isn't, all of this isn't absolutely money going to
that
be
helped
spent
Christie.
either. These are, so if the football program comes out this year and they've got 45 kids, we don't need that 6th assistant coach, so that money doesn't get spent. So this is just funds available.
And those are positions that aren't even filled or even have somebody earmarked for at this time.
How many female wrestlers do we have approximately?
They started the season with 14, ended the season with 8.
Okay, and so is this approximately what we, I mean, where do we get the
It's the same that
61?
we pay the boys coach because of Title IX.
Okay, so this isn't based on numbers, this is based on,
Position.
okay,
When you have softball, baseball, they're paid the same
Okay.
because of Title IX.
okay, that's what I'm asking, okay. Okay.
Makes me proud to be an American.
And back to that, if these are the cases, then I think, and this is absolutely not the time to talk about it, I guess, or fits in with it, but
Let's
the
do it.
review process for the coaches needs to be a little more in-depth than what I've seen. Is we recommend them to be rehired, okay. I think we need to go through sport by sport and look at how they're doing and what they're doing and what their program is.
And those are.
And that we stopped
expectations
doing
of
that is because I was told by other districts that if you are getting rid of a coach, they have to have due process, and that you guys can't have an opinion on what's going on. And so that's how that happened. That is how that came about.
Well, run that by me one more
No,
time. What's the opinion? Who's you guys, and what's the
The
opinion
board.
about? The board.
Yes, if if
How do we know to rehire?
we recommend a coach for not rehire, then the board can overturn it. But I was told by another district, and then I brought it forward to my people, and they were told that the board can't have that side of the story from just you because it's due process. So
Yeah, well, she-
that's why that was changed to that way.
So that's just a procedural thing maybe that we need to address at your level, Dr. Mayor,
Yes.
and then make sure that we give
Yes.
whoever's coming in behind Kristen correct
Right.
or updated info on how that should be handled.
7 coaches for 71 kids.
It's still a yearly contract though, right, for the employee?
Yeah, yeah. I make a motion that we accept these additions or changes to the stipend schedule for the 2021 extra duty stipend recommendation list.
And I will second that motion.
Is there any more discussion?
Do we have someone in mind for the girls wrestling coach? I mean,
We
is
can't
it-
talk about that.
That's a hiring
Oh.
decision that we can't speak
Well, I
about.
didn't want to.
When it's open, I will start interviews. Well, somebody will start interviews.
I didn't want to name, I was just making sure that there were people,
I don't know.
you know, that,
Probably hasn't been listed.
No, it hasn't.
It hasn't been
Hasn't
listed.
been
Yeah. So, it's been motioned and seconded.
Matthew, you'll get us in
Christ.
trouble.
Is there any
It's kinda
more questions or
ridiculous,
discussion? All those in favor of the extra duty stipend recommendations as listed in your packet and procedure and discussed around here, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
No, it isn't.
I'm abstaining.
Okay. 601. All right, thank you. Strategic plan. Did you talk about that in your packet? Is that all you want to talk about
I
there?
am sorry, I didn't know that was my turn yet.
I just have a few slides that were given to you. I don't have the entire strategic plan, but the plan is completed by the central office, and so we'll go through just some of the major highlights here.
I'm going to bring you the microphone again.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was tuned out. I was looking around here. No,
We needed
I was
different
busy.
setup.
I'm still crunching numbers about stipends in my head.
I am too.
The strategic plan is finished at the central office level, and now it is going to go to the board. After this, here are just the major points of the strategic plan. I believe there were 43 slides that I sent to you with the details and the action steps, et cetera, for the strategic plan, but, excuse me, our first goal from the Board of Education, by the way, these goals were readopted in 2019. The first one is Marshall Public Schools will provide and maintain a safe and supportive environment that contributes to the academic success, confidence, and well-being of all students. These are the people who served on that committee. Dr. Lorenz headed that committee and worked hard with also Kristen. The next steps for the goal number one is to encourage a local tax levy to support the fiscal needs associated with safety measures, increase the use of all district digital media sources to keep school staff, students, parents, and local community members informed and involved, encourage a local tax levy to support fiscal needs associated with energy efficiency, identify and close achievement gaps by increasing rigor of summer school programs and offering extended sessions. Here from the committee was also the overall recommendation to hire a district-wide communications/PR director. Goal number two, Marshall Public Schools will recruit, support, and retain highly effective and efficient teachers, staff, and leaders who find satisfaction in the workplace and are dedicated to the district's mission of excellence. These are the people who worked on that committee. Diane did a good job of heading that up and taking care of the business there in that committee. They did some really fine work, too. The next steps for that committee was to increase positive communication about MPS and the city of Marshall, increase in tax levy for salaries and benefits, support teachers' professional development opportunities by funding the PDC at 1% of state funding, support leaders' professional development opportunities through Title II and district funds, to continue curricular writing and participation in extracurricular activities by underrepresented groups of students. Goal 3 is that Marshall Public Schools will encourage the involvement of all students, families, school employees, and taxpayers, and will work to maintain open communication and cooperation across the school community. The people who worked on that committee, headed by Grace Durham, are there, and the next steps for that committee is to create one main social media page for the district and daily postings to maintain engagement and traffic. Create an OWL alert fact sheet explaining common functions and character maximums. Create a how to connect with us on the website and track visitors. Create a link and registration to explain how to connect with MPS through OWL alert. Create a community and student survey annually. Create a welcome kit for new families. The overall recommendation was also for the hiring of the district-wide communications/PR director. And the goal number 4, Marshall Public Schools will be fiscally responsible with taxpayer money and include any willing community members in short and long-term decisions that are pertinent to the continual improvement of educational opportunities and district facilities. On that committee, that was my committee, and I was helped a lot by a number of people on this committee. Mindy and Brian worked as kind of we were the threesome chair. They did a really good job with us. And the next step for goal number 4 is to ask for a tax levy campaign and to plan that with the community. That's this summer and fall. The audit committee reports to the community at the conclusion of the state auditor's audit. District needs assessment for facilities and personnel this summer. Form a PR committee this summer. Build strong partnerships with Marshall businesses that we're targeting the fall. And approve communication methods spring and summer. An overall recommendation, again, was for the hiring of a district-wide communication/PR director. And that was the overall the strategic plan. The next step for the strategic plan is for it to be handed to the Board of Education and for the board then to take a look and work, hopefully in a retreat setting, at what the board needs to do then to make sure that this is the district overall plan. The district plan then goes to the principals to forward it to their faculty so that each building has a strategic plan that will support the district plan. So the next step then is for the board to take over and to complete the district work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to new business. We will also be trying to finalize some dates of a retreat. I got some dates from Ellen of dates she wasn't available through the next couple of months, and we'll figure out a time on which we can be available. The administration would like to start working on this at their August retreat, as she mentioned, so we need to hammer it out by August. So, under new business, the first thing is approval of handbooks. You had elementary, BMS, MHS, SCCC, activities, coaches, and I believe that was all.
So moved with the removal of the calendars.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
All right. Are there any questions or discussion?
Maybe. I'm trying to get it pulled up here. Sorry. No, I don't have any questions.
All right.
I'm good.
All those in favor of the handbooks as written?
Aye.
Aye.
Without the calendar.
Without the
Well,
calendar.
without the calendar, of course, that is in all of the handbooks.
Aye.
Aye again?
Aye.
I'll start all over since that cleared up
Aye.
the confusion. How about that? So, all those in favor of the handbooks as they were presented to you with the exclusion of the calendar, which will be a handout that we will be inserting into them, which I understand may even be able to put on your fridge.
Oh, don't overkill it, Mr. President.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So, the next thing is the approval of a 2022 baseball trip. This was something that occurred in the past with the baseball students. They just finished up last week in a heartbreaking loss to Oak Grove.
Yeah. I move we accept the trip.
It was.
Yes. Is there a second?
I will second that.
All those in favor of approval of the baseball trip for 2022?
Wait a second, I want some discussion on this.
All right.
Because we've got Matt here to speak to some of its importance. Like, I would like to hear kind of like what you think is important about the, like, how have you seen this trip be worth the investment? I'm arguing that it is, but I think it's worth kind of going into some of the detail about it. Because I know it can be a headache to rearrange exams and whatnot and whatever, like homework around this trip. But what makes it worthwhile?
Well, I think Coach Woodring would agree with me on this. It just, you take a group of boys who 8 or 9 of them may hang out with each other, 10, 2, 3. You take a group of that many boys out of town, throw them in a bus for 2 days, throw them in rooms together. You get a different kind of chemistry sooner than you would like this year when we didn't know if we were going to get to play for a week, practice for a day, or finish the year out. So you take all that, you put them all together, parents as well. So
That's just it, yeah.
there may be kids that some of these parents have never seen, some parents have never met other parents, and by the time you get done in Florida, in baseball trips we've taken with the Wises before, you get to know people, you become friends with them, and it just helps with the chemistry of the team. And as far as missing assignments, I can account for the coaches when we went 2 years ago, where they did not allow slack time when there was supposed to be study time. And that went for my daughter as well, who wasn't even in high school at the time. They were on her to make sure she was still doing what she was supposed to be doing. So I don't have any concerns with that either. But.
And to echo, oh, go ahead.
Mr. Smith out there, Coach Albertson and myself take the student side of things very, personally. We expect our students to be at the highest level in everything they do. We did take streams down the last time when we went to Florida. We had mandated hours that the students had to work, and they were, assigned in their little groups. The older groups, the seniors that were in the room, it was their job to help the younger students out and make sure that those things were getting taken care of. It's a bond for us. Like Mr. Smith said, you take students who are always here in Marshall, in this community, they have the possibility to hang out, but it's not necessarily always that way. You take them and you put them in a setting where it is just them. They learn a little bit more about themselves and about each other in that setting. And so it brings us together. I think this year was a definite, benefit to that trip 2 years ago, because this group was a very close group. There's a lot to be said about that. If we would have been able to have last year, we believe the same result would have been last year. This group would have really came together and excelled beyond our expectations.
I know there was some reservation at first,
I know when we talked about this trip, or, when we approved this
Very first
3
time.
years ago, I guess it occurred 2 years ago, there were a lot of questions about missed class time and a variety of different things. Once everyone came back and I heard the report about how it went, the team building things that happened, you could see that it was a very positive experience, like you're saying. I got to introduce students to things they may not see, some kids that had never seen ocean water before. They're outside of just the classroom things. It's a lot of life experience that were gained, and it makes people tighter. There's no way around it.
We try to limit our days out. I think this year, we're at a day and a half of classes is what we would actually.
Yeah, I read that. Looked pretty good.
With that whole trip. I think we leave on a Wednesday afternoon, which would have been a half day. We would travel that Wednesday. We usually go down around Nashville, in that area, stop, and then we'll continue on to Florida the next day. Wake up Friday morning, we'll play Friday, Saturday, and then we take Sunday off, play Monday, Tuesday, get back on the bus Tuesday afternoon, and be back into Missouri on Wednesday.
So, I mean, it's just a piece of paper for us, right? But we could very easily breeze through all of this.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth taking a moment to hear about some of those experiences, because it really is kind of cool. Oh, Varner's got something.
I do want to add to that because I want to actually play the devil's advocate here for the other people that have questions that may have taken it negatively in previous.
Stay up on the mics, please.
Okay. So the question is, so football and basketball, they do camps in the summer and do their bonding outside of school hours. Baseball, and this may be a question that they may not be able to because, they don't have events or something for to attend. So maybe that's why we have to do it during school. I think that needs to be clarified. I haven't heard any complaints as far as from teachers or anyone not being able to do their homework. So I think these students are doing what they need to do to be able to attend. But I do need to answer that question for the community to know why this is permitted during school when other sporting events happen during the summertime.
I would say that our biggest thing is when you get into summer, most people are already doing another sport. We have football camps that go on, we have football practices that go on. Baseball just gets done with their season. Usually we allow our students to go to the next sport and get prepared for that next sport. There's not a whole lot of team baseball camps that you can go to. We're limited on contact days as well.
And that's because the baseball season is in the summer, where football's is in the fall, and soccer's in the fall and spring. So they have city leagues, but at that level, your kids are going and playing all over, so there's no time for them to come to town to do camps or things like that, because they're getting instruction elsewhere.
Well, this is really no different than like the Branson camp for football. This happens during our allotted practice and season time for baseball. It happens during, just like it does for football. So it's, but there are no.
I think for me, I compare this to like, in high school, our band was able to go to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and we participated there. And so I look at these kinds of trips not as a change in schedule, but an opportunity to change our schedule and give our kids an opportunity to experience things outside of their day-to-day, things that they would do here. Yes, people have to adjust their calendars and schedules, but I look at things like this as a positive opportunity that they can bring things back. And, kids that attend National FFA Convention, they choose to do that. They pay for that on their own. Yes, that happens to be in the summer, but they go and do those things as a part of that organization, and they're able to bring what they learned back to their peers and their educators, as well as the great opportunities outside of our community that they're able to bring home. And so I would encourage any organization that can raise their own money, that can do things that make their people grow. I would encourage them to bring that in front of us and let us encourage them to explore those opportunities and grow.
I agree. Kids fund it, and the parents bond almost as much as the players. Of course, not all of them can.
You can even tell at baseball games now.
Yeah, they're there,
Their parents are
yeah.
a very tight-knit group. I mean, they're at every game,
Yeah.
whereas you might go to another sport and you might have one or two parents.
Yeah. Baseball parents usually travel together, bond together, and support together. So
We're pretty cool.
Call to question.
With all that being said, all those in favor of the 2022 baseball trip, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Dr. Lorenz, please enlighten us about the HVAC for Eastwood Elementary briefly. I know that was some information that we already received.
I will be.
Tell Coach Albertson I want to go to Florida.
Raise some money.
They
they'll
need a
take it.
driver. Sorry, Dr. T.
No, that's okay.
Dr. Lorenz.
I will be quick as a wink.
Yeah, right.
I will, I'll try. So
Which one we on, Eastwood?
we are on Eastwood HVAC.
Yes.
Okay.
Bid sent out to George's, Bierman, Allison, and H&S. This is for the Eastwood HVACs. I believe it's 13 units to cover that building, very similar to the way we did Southeast. I'm recommending the George's Heating and Cooling bid at $110,258. This bid, like I do most bids, will be structured, the contract will be structured 45, 45, 10, 45 down to allow the business to go ahead and get parts ordered, 45 after 50% completion, and 10% on final completion. It's a really tricky time, as I said before, with parts, so I will be working, if this is approved, we'll be working with this company first thing in the morning to see if we're going to have any hiccups with parts. Everything's going to be it's going to be a very tight window to get us all these projects that are coming from you last month, this month, and next month, so everything's going to be tricky. So, but that's my recommendation, George's Heating and Cooling.
Question for you is that heating and cooling?
Heat.
Remember we ran into that before? We were supposed to do like AC and the heat, and it turned around, it was just the AC. I mean, is it heat and
Yes,
cooling?
yes, yes.
Okay.
And these are still the individual units that we're talking about, correct?
Yes, there's, on the cooling side is Armstrong, 11 Armstrong 2-ton capacity air conditioners, 1 2.5 ton, one 1.5 ton, that's the 13. On the furnace side, there's 12 45 BTU, there's 166 BTU, and then, no, it covers both.
So-
These are roof units?
I was going to say, those are roof air conditioning
Yes,
now, weren't
yeah, when they originally started talking, this was the place where we were at Eastwood, they were thinking about putting them on the ground and then piping stuff up the building and into the rooms. And I've encouraged them to bring it from the roof, go over the side. Either way, we're going to have some lines exposed on the building. And for vandal, just to be more secure, I felt better about the units being on top. They are not penetrating the roof. They'll be setting on,
Skids or something, whatever.
yes,
Framework.
that was part of the issue, that they could not penetrate the roof like they did at Southeast.
What's the life expectancy of this, you think? What are we looking at?
Matt,
15 years?
What?
How long is a unit?
what do you think that,
Oh,
10, 15
life
years?
expectancy of the air conditioner is probably 10 to 12 years under residential setting.
yeah.
Okay.
So my last question or comment about this is, so I assume these heat units are going to go into the classrooms similar to the Southeast
Yeah.
situation?
Yes.
And we've already talked about the fact that I don't want these to be exposed, and we need to make sure that they're aesthetically pleasing, for lack
Yes.
of a better term, unlike the ones that were placed in Southeast prior.
And I've got, if you haven't been by there, I put one in for everybody to take a look at, and I went ahead and ordered some quad folds, whatever they are, to cover the majority of that, yes.
That's great.
And we'll be doing something similar with these units.
All right?
Are these like 95% efficient on the furnaces?
that's what it
96, I think he told me.
96.
I think that's
I
what it
think
said.
96.
Okay. And that,
And that's, part of this is going to be worked out in the morning because
gotta be able to get 'em.
we're going to find out in the morning if we're going to be able to nail down these products.
yeah.
That's
I know
where,
the-
so
I know the batch
at this time, we're looking at these Armstrongs. If something goes, if we either can't get them, we can't lock them in, if we have to switch to something else, I will have to come back to you and talk to you about it.
Sure.
And then we won't, and even the way this is, it's going to be tight window, and we may have to run side by side with last year, the older unit, and cross our fingers with that thing. But we still have it, and we can still kick it and make it go. But the more of these we can get in, the better shape will be. But like I said, it's going to come down to, several of these bids are going to come down to me working with the vendor and making sure we can get the parts that he put on this bid. And if that's not the case, and it's I won't take something lesser just so we can get something in. So it'll have to be equal to or above whatever we approve this evening.
Okay.
Well, no one else provides bids, it's not.
Yeah. Well, I make a motion, we accept the bid from Georgia's Heating and Cooling and pay the 45, 45, 10.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Windows and doors for the new practical nursing building out on 65.
Correct. This is for 16 storefront windows and 2 storefront door frames and doors. Bids out to Dugan Glass. Bids were sent to Missouri Glass Company and American Window and Door. Dugan Glass is the company that I am recommending for a total of $17,734 being covered by the grant.
Yes, that's what was going to be my question.
Thank
Yes.
you.
I have that written
I
here too.
sensed it coming. Yes, covered by the grant.
And just for clarity as well, they were the only people that submitted a bid as well.
Correct.
So I make a motion that we accept the bid from Dugan.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Boiler at BMS.
Oh, boy.
This was the one that I got a preliminary, I don't know about appraisal. I was setting us up for the herd of 400 to 425,000, and was pleased that it came in under that. Integrated Facility Services sent a bid. Solomon Boilers sent a bid. American Boiler and Mechanical. I also contacted the contractor who did the boiler work out at Spainhauer, and I thought they were going to get me a bid in, and I told them that our system, they looked at it, and they talked it over, and they could not get it in this summer. They were too busy, and we're in a situation where we can't get through another winter, so I'm recommending the bid from, and that is the one, we will be doing the pad work for this. That's one of the reasons why this was a little bit lower. There's a 6 or 8 inch concrete pad that needs to be installed, and we'll be doing that this summer. So that was one of the reasons why this was a little less expensive. $376,750, and that's who I recommend.
Are they going to put these boilers in the locations maybe that allow us to have access to them as you were talking
Yes,
about?
we are going to move them off the very tight space they are up on the mezzanine, bringing it all down directly below the main feed of the inlet lines, up on a pad to make sure. That was one of the reasons why all the work came down from that lower level at Beaker, because it was too wet, but this pad will keep us out of that. We will have full 360-degree access to the units. The units will be individual stations, so we can bring one offline if we have trouble. Okay. They are 96% energy efficient as well, and they will have, the older system that we're using have a couple of big clunky pumps to circulate. These are be more streamlined and more inline. The whole thing, I've got to get down there and get some before and after pictures, because you'll be surprised what it looks like now, I think, to what it's going to look like when we get done. Not only efficient, but easy access, so, yes.
And is this one of the things, this is not one of the things, or it is one of the things that will be reimbursed on the ESSER funds?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it is. All right, so I'll make a motion that we accept this bid.
Second.
All those in favor of the boiler bid coming out of the ESSER funds as discussed?
Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, excuse me. Approval of pest control services.
The Eastwood HVAC was also from ESSER, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, both of those.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I was going to try to tie the windows into ESSER funds too, but I couldn't figure out a way to get there, so.
What was the,
Yeah.
I didn't see this one.
So with our pest control, 3-year bids, we had Steve's Pest Control, we sent one to Terminex, did not respond. We sent one to Ecolab, who responded, and one to Orkin, who responded. The 2 bidders were, Orkin and Steve's were very close. If you looked at the functions that one did over the other, was almost a push. The one note there, the Ecolab bid was considerably lower. That's who we had before. I will say that's who we had before, was Ecolab when I got here, and that did not work out well for us. And I did not get a representative from Ecolab to come speak to me. All I got was the price. We got to the point the last time with Ecolab, and we had to change service because we had to change service.
Have you had a lot of the Orkin folks come in and talk to you? Let me put it this way, I haven't needed their services, but they have been very easy to get in touch with.
I other than phone contact on this bid to make sure that we were comparing apples to apples. That's the only other experience I've had with them. I will say that I cannot tell you how responsively well Steve's Pest Control has been since we've had them on board. When we have any kind of incident, they have someone there. It's, you
About
know.
same day.
Yeah, but it is the same day
Yeah.
usually. And they've also done a wonderful job for some of our bug issues that are outside the contract that we all know about, so.
Can you tell me, it says page 3 for details. So page 3 details on any additional services provided upon request.
At the end of Steve's Pest Control, so there's a description.
Is that kind of
So here-
a
yeah.
similar thing, kind of like the Orkin one had, kind of listed below? Is that what that is, or is there something else?
The additional services they provide are bed bug inspection. And then they say no charge for spot inspection or pest ID, bed bug treatment, heat or chemical. They've provided both of those to us. Bird mites, price given at request based on the size and scope. Fly control with insect light traps. These are all additional, by the way. With glue board replacements, they do plasma bulb replacements every 6 months on their plasma units. That's additional. Fly baiting, $50 per application. Fly misters, $15 a month. Termite protection, Centricon termite elimination system, and then nuisance, wildlife, bird, and small animal trapping if services based on request, price given based on request.
And I assume this is all facilities, including the new nursing building?
Yes, this adds, so they spray, Steve's, under the contract from last year, they went ahead and sprayed the new wing, but the contract price jumped $50 a month from what we were paying them at the end of their 3-year. So for $50 a month, the increase picks up the additional
Classroom.
being actually paid for the
Hour.
additional footage that they're doing out here, plus the nursing building out at Fitzgibbon.
Okay.
And
So-
all associated traps or whatever comes with that.
One of the differences that I noted between Steve's and Orkin, I'm just looking at the language here.
Was
Oh,
it the every 40 feet?
you know what? No. And not, it's not actually a service difference, but that's a thing. No, there will be a 100% unlimited retreatment warranty for covered pests. Does that include bed bugs? And did that pertain to the previous contract that we had for Steve's Pest Control? There will be a 100% unlimited retreatment warranty for covered pests. Does that pertain to bed bugs? Did it pertain for the previous agreement? Because every time we had Steve's come out,
We had to pay for it.
Correct.
we paid it.
Because it's not
We paid on that.
it's not a covered, it's not one of the
Not a
big
covered
list if they're
pest.
covered, that's where it's at. It's, the bed bug is
falls
not
under
covered, so it's done on an individual basis, yes.
It falls under the page
Yes.
3 extras.
I hear you, I feel your pain, but it's not under the covered list.
I'm leaning toward, I like the lower monthly payment for Orkin, and I'm leaning toward trying service from another company, and seeing if we get, seeing what the difference in the results would be.
Is it Orkin the one that you had before?
Steve's.
The difference in the price that she's saying,
Echo.
because the termite protection seems like it's included in the Steve's Pest Control bid. It seems like it's additional in the Orkin bid. So when you add it into the Orkin bid additionally, you're talking about a difference of $120 a year. Correct?
Yeah, it looks like that way.
I can just
making
tell
sure I
you,
presented it and said it out loud the same way.
I can just tell you, I couldn't be more pleased with Steve's Pest Control. My problems that were daily, multiple times a day, have gone away. The incidents and the reported rate of most anything has gone away. Honestly, I couldn't be happier with Steve, so that's all the piece I'll say.
I guess I'm just confused about why we kept having recurring you know, I mean, there are lots of reasons why you could have recurring pest issues, I suppose, but I also don't see a problem with trying somebody new either.
I will entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the bid from Orkin.
Is there a second?
Or somebody could make a different motion.
I move that we accept the bid from Steve's Pest Control.
Is there a second again?
I second that one.
For Steve's Pest
That's
Control?
who you recommend, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So we have a motion that does not have a second
And
currently
it
from
does.
Orkin.
Well,
and
that
then we
dies
have
that
one-
dies for lack of a second.
That's what I'm
and then-
saying, so
okay.
it dies from lack of a second, and then we have a motion that has been moved and seconded from Steve's Pest Control. So my question will be now asking you all those in favor of moving with Steve's Pest Control has been moved and seconded, please say so by saying aye.
Just discussion?
Yeah, is
Well,
there
we
any-
can rediscuss, yes.
What,
My point in Steve's Pest Control is sorry, I just took a drink, for a difference of $120 if the relationships are there and they've worked through our processes and I can speak from our experiences out at the concession stand.
okay.
We had some issues out there and they were really quick to get there, like same day. They brought rodent boxes and helped that facility be very kosher that same day. And I just think for $120 annually, to not have to change a relationship and start fresh, I think it's worth it to keep them.
Okay, that answers my question.
Question though. So it says additional termite control. So the key word was additional termite control on Orkin. So is that including basic rodent? And so I guess termite is additional.
Right.
If we had any damage, have we had any damage in the school for termites though?
Not any. We have, we put termite control on the guest house and the tutor house. But there's been no other sighting of, and we didn't have sighting on those. We just treat to make sure we don't incur any.
So we're paying extra for that one building.
Two buildings.
And it's it's not care that has an actual issue. It's preventative. So
Correct.
people could save $4,200 a year.
Yeah, we could take that off.
So you're saying that Steve's would be able to, only if needed, that he would remove that from his bid. So what would that make his bid?
If we decided we didn't want to cover that, then we would take that off.
So my question is, how much is that on the bid? Because he doesn't that itemized on.
I'm willing to bet there's no way to actually answer that for Dr. Lorenz, because the bid was not itemized the same way.
No, I would probably have to, because I didn't have Orkin itemize it either, so I'd have to rebid that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Orkin appears to submitted their bid itemized a little bit. People, of course, submit
Yes.
bids a little differently sometimes than you ask for them.
Right.
How much is that gonna cost us if we don't include termite control and we have it right now, and then we have to have termite control when something bad happens because we want
If we want to pull
knock it off?
termite control, I will rebid the
No,
process.
I guess what I'm asking is, say they pull termite
He's saying
control,
if
so
we
we
don't spend that
save
$4,000,
$4,000.
$6,000 in the end.
And then later on, we have something happens and we
Correct.
need the termite control, what's that gonna cost us?
Correct. It'll be,
Because
I mean,
then
it's
you're
gonna
not-
be way more than $4,000.
most likely, most likely.
So it should be the same amount if you need it, but there again, you have a different company doing proposal. So based off the information that I've received, I'm going to second Aaron's motion of Orkin.
Can't.
I was gonna say, we can't do that because we're already into the question. It would
We
have
have
to
to
be
take
voted.
care of the
It would
one
have to
that's
be
been
voted
voted
down,
seconded.
so
So
you would
it's-
have to vote against
we have
this,
to
and
vote it
then we would
down,
have to
yeah,
go
there you
back
go.
because it would be taken off the table.
Yeah, Ellen's motion's on the floor, and
Yes.
it's got a second, so that
So,
question
are
can't
we-
be called.
But we are ready for the question.
Call the question.
If everyone else is done with the discussion.
Hey,
Okay. All those in favor of Steve's pest control bid as presented, which would be $25,122 a year, please say so by saying aye.
Aye.
And that was 3, it sounded like, and I would be 4. Those in favor of, those against the bid, please say nay.
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 Would that be you as well, Ms. Varner?
Nay.
So that would be 3. So that passes on a 4-3 for Steve's Pest Control at this time. Approval of track mill overlay.
So the track mill overlay, 3 companies, same 3 that before when we were looking at a complete rebuild, McConnell and Associates, Byrne and Jones Construction, and Mid-America Sports Construction. McConnell called me the day before, didn't make it down to the mandatory pre-bid walkthrough. I told him I would have to rebid if I allowed him to submit a bid. So Burns and Jones did come down for the walkthrough so that we could try to be as close as we could to compare apples to apples. The Mid-America Sports Construction was the lower bid, and it's my recommendation. They bid for the base bid of $296,859. These alternates are plug and play. The first time around when we bid this, we did not bid the outside curbing. We bid the inside, but we did not bid the outside. I added the outside on here just thinking that it might be nice to make it nice and tidy with a new overlaid track to keep it all nice and contained. But all the interior curb from Mid-America Sport was $72,340. The exterior curb, $94,690. The long jump, triple jump runways and pits, which would be a dual lane jump pits with sand pits on both ends, larger sand pits on both ends, $55,370. Extending the current pole vault pit by cutting off about 12 feet or so of the current pole vault pad that's not being used, and that would allow us to put a new pole vault box in and extend that runway by about 12 feet and still leave a couple of feet behind the current mats for the pole vaulters, and then remove and replace the approach apron. That's the entranceway by the gates. So if you want to, what I would say is both of those things, if you didn't do an outside curb, you may or may, well, they would still have to do some work to that entranceway to make that match. I'm trying to make that a seamless. I would encourage while we're in this far to go ahead and do the inside and outside curb and that approach over by the gate so that it is all one seamless walk when you come into the track area, and we don't have any stumble hitches there. So that total bid $549,180.
Are both of these companies bidding, are they proposing to do anything different, I guess is what I should say? Because the numbers that they give in certain areas
Yeah.
are dramatically different.
Yeah.
And so I was just wondering.
And I had that same experience the last time we bid this. I went back and rechecked just the inside curb the last time was about $30,000 difference between the several bidders.
Right.
They all know the square footage. They have to come so that I can explain to them what I'm looking for, like in the runways. I explained to them that before we had talked about pulverizing the whole track and starting over. This time we are looking for one layer lift of millwork to level and slope,
Okay.
and then one lift layer of asphalt. Yeah, they got the exact same speech. I walked them to all the runways and the pits, showed them what I was looking for, explained to them that I needed the apron over by the stadium to smoothly transition onto the track, that we were using red for our track with white lines. I can't explain that. I couldn't explain it the last time. They're high on some things and low on other things. But I can tell you that both of those bidders got the exact same speech because I delivered it to them myself. And that's the reason why they had to come. I've gotten in that mess before where they said in the paper it didn't explain it well enough, this or that. I stood there just like that apron. They both saw right over there by that gate. It's a big triangle wedge piece. It's breaking up and it slopes down to get to the track. They all saw what we were looking for to make that a nice, smooth transition, and they just came up with different prices.
One of the things on this that I asked several questions to Mid-America when they came for the football field back in August. And one of the things, we had a lot of discussion in that work group about the asphalt. And one of their statements, and I wrote this on here so I wouldn't forget today after I went back and looked, but it said that outside, because I wasn't sure that the outside curbing was a necessity. And so they said that the exterior curbing holds the asphalt in place. And so as our asphalt is aging, it's going to hold that in place, that surface in place, and keep it so it doesn't implode on us. And then the interior curbing, if you go out there right now, there's about 12 inches of gravel between the track and the grass. And so as we're mowing that, so there's drain under that, but as we're mowing that, the mowers are, they get against that track, and then that's how we rip up the inside. I wouldn't have known that had I not been out there for them to explain that to me. So while I didn't know if it was truly a necessity to have the curbing, I've paid more attention on the road this year looking at people that had curbing and didn't. I wasn't at one facility that they didn't have both. Smithton, we went there. They have a brand new facility over the last couple years, and they have exactly that with the new infield that is grass. So it would be pretty much the same facility as what they have that they did through a levee, actually.
At one point in time, you were concerned about a lower level for.
That's what this.
So that will take care of this?
Yes, yeah. And it would fix all the drainage. If you go out there right now, and part of the track is like powder. I had to reach down and I honestly played in a minute the other day because I couldn't believe that it was actually really I could pick it up and.
It's just disintegrating.
It is. And so you can imagine the water that's standing or has stood out there this year. I would remind you that $250,000 of this is over in that lease purchase money. So that doesn't make that whole number. I mean, we've got almost half of it.
It's not lease purchase, is it? Was that just
Well,
set
it was
aside?
initially in that.
It's from the fund balance that we tagged onto the lease purchase.
Yeah, from the first lease purchase.
In regard to the irrigation, I did talk to both of them. They both had, of course, $100,000 elaborate ductwork irrigation, and I didn't need that. We have irrigation there. The insistent was that from the top edge of the inside curb, it needs to slope to our drains. And we shouldn't have the water standing problem that we have now if the dirt work. And they both said that it was doable. They've uncovered the lids and they know exactly the elevation they have to reach. So we shouldn't have to do.
And the drainage problem will be fixed by the sod project as it fixes
Yes,
the drain
the
tile.
dirt first to slope it and then the sod on top of it, and it should go to our drains. It probably went to our drains at one time and it just settled backwards until the water's just held.
Is there a motion about the track mill overlay with the two bids that we have?
What'd you say?
Byrne and Jones.
Byrne and Jones, we'll say? Byrne and Jones Construction, which is $576,200, or from Mid-American Sports, which is $549,180, roughly $26,000 cheaper.
That we accept the Mid-America Sports construction bid.
Second.
All those in favor of the Mid-American Sports bid?
Aye.
Aye.
Any of those opposed? Thank you. Approving purging of surplus items.
I've got Christie, I'm gonna have to send you a copy.
We are getting.
I got it in our packet.
We're getting.
Yeah,
hands-
I
got an
yeah.
updated one,
Oh.
Christie.
Updated?
Yeah, there was,
We've
What's
got
that?
more things to get.
You added some things.
well, the music department asked me about 2 more pianos. They didn't get them on the list. So there's 2
Oh.
more pianos, Christie, that you probably didn't see on your list.
Okay.
There's a Benton
piano.
Elementary piano, Christie, and there's an Eastwood Elementary piano. Both of them are
Those two,
upright
I
pianos.
I think those two.
Okay.
Those were on there, actually. It's
Those are heavy
There was-
pianos.
it's the high school ones. Sorry. There's an MHS piano 1 and 2,
Okay.
Yeah, they were from the high school.
and they are both upright pianos as well.
Finally, pictures, something I can understand.
So, there was 2 grinders on there before, and you just have 1, so 1 grinder's not on there, Christie. The maintenance department saw the list, realized our grinder was broke, and asked me if they could take one of the grinders. I had them work that out with the Career Center, and they came to agreement, so we went down to 1 grinder for our broken grinders, and now we're back to having a grinder. So the,
And the maintenance come in next week and ask us to
beginning,
prepare. Yeah,
we have to do some work to get these, we're going to get this, like we did a couple years ago, we'll get it posted on the webpage so that people can click through there and see color photos of it. I've got to work in the next couple of days after I get some of these bids going to get that posted. We're hoping to run the ad and start running this after the weekend here, which I think begins June 1st through June the 14th at 12 p.m. The trailers they'll have you'll see them on our webpage. You'll be able to scroll to them shortly. Give me a couple of days, but they should hopefully be up by the weekend. The trailers can be looked at. I'll need you to stop by the school principal of that building. So we have a trailer at the Northwest Elementary trailer. The Southeast has 2 trailers. One is a classroom trailer, one's a smaller storage trailer. Eastwood Elementary out on, I believe is that East, I forget that street. It's the one on the side, not the one behind the building, it's the one on the side. And then the trailer at Benton. The rest of there's some miscellaneous stuff from the kitchen. There's most of the other miscellaneous stuff and the pianos will be located in the MHS Commons. We will not be bringing the big bender or the grinder over to the Commons. I don't want to scratch that floor in there. So to view that bender or that grinder, you'll need to see the principal at Beaker.
You may double check that bender, that's actually a picture of the
I don't-
bender, because
I-
that's a stomp shear for sheet metal, that's not a bender.
I'm sorry, I went by, you're right, that's what it is, a stock share. That's what we're actually getting, thank you. We got to change that. That
Yeah.
picture didn't get swapped out for you
Well,
guys.
somebody's gonna get a really good deal if nobody else bids on that bender and they get them a stomp shear, so.
Yeah, it's a stock shear. I will have that cleared up when it hits the webpage.
Good to have
Or it hits
that
the press.
around.
Thank you. I did hear that, and I thought, oh, that's not what I was told it was, so we'll get it cleared up. And we put there to make sure, this is one last point for everybody that's listening, to make sure we will have, all items are numbered. So the process is, you should include the number on your sealed bid with your contact name and phone number, and then you can drop those off at central office anytime up until June 14th at 12 o'clock. So sealed bid with the number, with your name and contact information, and as soon as we get a chance to look them over, we'll let people know who.
On the trailers, does all the decking go with them as well, the outside decking?
No,
Does the outside ramps and decking go with them or not?
No, they do not. We are, one deck has some fairly decent deck on it that we put on just a year ago. We'll be recapturing that because of the lumber price. We'll be capturing that deck. The rest of them, we wouldn't want to give a lot of that decking away because it's going to go away. The skirting doesn't go with it. What you see is what you get on the trailers. So there are some water fountains and some various other little things that are in those trailers that we are taking out as they are being by the end of this week that will be out. So when they come to look at the trailer, what you see is what you get.
Okay. I was
And-
just making sure since the decking is shown in the
Wonder what
pictures
they're
if we
worth.
were or weren't. Because I
Yes.
thought one of these, the deck that I was actually particularly seeing actually was a very new deck that we just made.
One of the decks is pretty nice.
Yes.
So people
All
probably
right.
would. But one last thing, I'd stop by the city to make sure I was not leading anyone astray as far as the trailers. Anyone that does purchase a trailer needs to get with the city to get a moving permit. I'm not going to guarantee, but I do not believe it's a cost. I believe it is more a piece of paperwork so they know the route that you will be taking if you move the trailer, when you move the trailer here in town. So that is one last piece of information for the trailers.
Is there a motion to move with the purging of the surplus items as listed?
That's it. Oh, I'm
Chris
sorry.
Turner, motion that move.
Yeah, all right. Is there a second of,
I'll second that motion moved.
is there any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Moving down, just a June board meeting date is going to be changed to Thursday, the 24th. Approval of 2021 budget amendments. Is there anything else that you need to enlighten us with, Dr. Mayor?
No, we'll probably have a few when we close out the budget, but those are the ones that I presented earlier.
Okay. So if you'll remember the slide earlier that showed the budget changes that we have, increased revenue and increased expenditures somewhat, but more money, more problems. So if anyone wants to make a motion there?
I move that we accept the amendments.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? K is actually listed as an action item. I'm going to just say beforehand, we've talked about sending this back out to the CTA for them to look at, for this to be an insertion. So if there is a motion to table is what I would suggest.
I'll move to table.
Second.
All those in favor of tabling until we're able to talk with CTA and get a better feel on this?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. Next, sadly, we are down to item L, which is the accept the resignation of Ms. Christy Varner as she submitted to this board. This
Yes.
is actually an action item. I'm going to ask for a motion on this, and then, of course, I'd like to have any comments that you'd like to have, Ms. Varner, during the discussion portion.
I'll move to accept with regrets.
I'll second it reluctantly.
Is there any other discussion at this time?
I just want to add that it has been a pleasure, and I think it's very important that the community understands that this position was a learning curve in the beginning, but I do believe that if you sit in that seat for the right reasons, you will make a difference in the community. And so I would like someone to step up and take this position and be in that seat for what.
Thank you. All those in favor or reluctantly in favor of accepting her resignation, please say so by aye.
Aye.
Anyone like to abstain?
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Christie.
Thank you, Ms. Varner.
Thanks for your support, Christie.
I understand a plaque was sent back to you for your service and was delivered back to you last Friday. So hopefully that will make it into a new place in your new home, and you can remember us here in Marshall in one more other way. So we appreciate that.
Very much.
Thank you, Christie.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So moving along to that, everyone that's on the board should have a copy of policy BBE-1. This addresses school board vacancies. I am going to read this out loud, so please bear with me. This is also on the website, so, not that I can't read, but just that it is rather lengthy, so. If a vacancy occurs on the Board of Education, the remaining members shall appoint a person to serve until the next school board election. That will be in April, just to let everyone know currently, unless there's changes in the legislation, when a director shall be elected from the unexpired term. In a case of resignation, a vacancy shall be declared to exist when the resignation letter is officially presented to the board at a board meeting. This has occurred with Ms. Varner tonight. The vacancy will be announced at a board meeting, and the district will notify local newspapers and advertise the vacancy on the district's website. The superintendent or designee is directed to advertise the vacancy in other effective ways, such as sending emails or other electronic communication to the community or posting notice in district buildings or publications. Residents who wish to be appointed to the vacancy must apply as directed in the notification. The district will allow residents a minimum of 2 weeks from the date the district publicizes the vacancy on its website to apply for this vacant position. I am asking that we get this information out in various ways by the end of this week so that it can be properly posted. I'm also setting a date of the 15th of June for those applications to be in. The first is next Tuesday after the holiday, and I feel that will give the 2-week timeline to start there. So we're giving in almost an additional week or so time for us to make sure that we've got the notifications out, we've posted on the website, and the people in the community have been able to spread the word amongst themselves and have a chance to submit their paperwork. The interview process, or review and interview process. The board will review all applications at a regularly scheduled board meeting or at a special meeting called for that purpose. The board may select final candidates to interview in open session, or the board may decide not to interview candidates and make a final selection from the applications. The board will discuss applications and interview candidates in open session. I'm probably going to be asking for us to look at a date probably around the 17th or something like that so that we can look to appoint someone before the 24th board meeting in June. So just have that idea on your calendar. We'll probably review applications for a couple days and find out if we need to bring someone to speak about them. The board will make appointments in an open session board meeting through a formal motion that is seconded and confirmed with an affirmative vote by a majority of the board, a quorum, of course. A board member who is resigning from or otherwise leaving the board shall not participate in choosing the successor. Policy BBBA-1, board member qualifications. By law, MPS board members, Board of Education members must be a citizen of the United States of America, be a resident taxpayers of the Marshall School District, have resided in Missouri for a minimum of 1 year immediately preceding their election or appointment, be at least 24 years of age, have not been delinquent in the payment of any state income taxes, personal property taxes, municipal taxes, or real property taxes, or their place of residence. On their place of residence. Have not been found guilty of nor pled guilty to a felony under the federal laws of the United States of America or to a felony under Missouri law. Have not been registered or required to be registered as a sex offender. Policy BBF, Board of Education Ethics. By policy, MPS Board of Education members will keep the welfare and success of all students as their greatest concern when making decisions or communicating the district missions and goals, or goals and missions. Obey the laws of Missouri and the United States of America. Accept the responsibility to work to improve all aspects of public education in the Marshall Public School District for all students. Work cooperatively with other board members and the superintendent. Follow the chain of command and encourage others to do the same. Communicate appropriately within and outside board meetings, including the use of social media. Keep confidential matters confidential. Delegate authority for the administration of schools to the superintendent. Act for the good of all, not the benefit of some. Approve employment of school personnel based on qualifications and recommendations of administration. Avoid conflicts or interests or advancement of employment status of family, friends, or associates. Support decisions of the whole board, including actions they may not agree with personally, including actions that may not agree with personally held opinions or beliefs. So, as reading through all of that, if anyone has any problems with those timelines or anything, please state those now.
My only question is, these letters will go directly to you, won't they? I'm hopeful that the application letters will go directly to the president of the board.
The letters should remain sealed, and I will pick them all up.
That's great. Yeah, so picking them up from central office, but the
Yes.
letters should remain sealed.
Yes.
Okay.
They can remain sealed, and I will pick them up from central office on the 15th, and we will decide, email out a date to talk about those and review those.
Great.
All right. With that all being said, I, again, thank you, Ms. Varner, for your time and service. I will be following up with you, as I discussed, prior to our retreat, because I know you've got some ideas and you poured a lot of time into looking at various things in the district, so I can make sure that those are shared and expressed and still continued on, so.
I appreciate that.
At this time, I need a motion to adjourn from open session.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Oh, wait, we're
Roll
on.
call.
We're gonna roll call to go, yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Matt? Ed?
All right.
Aye.
And I.
Christie, are you staying in Zoom?